am here and ready to start this first counseling conversation. And today, the topic is going to be why men and women cheat. As you can see, I have an empty chair here. So we are going to have a guest join us a little later. But first, I want to talk a little bit about cheating. So people define cheating differently, right? So there is physical cheating, there is emotional cheating, and then spiritual cheating. Yes, I know, weird, right? But I've actually heard of this and have seen people use this as a reason for why they are getting a divorce. So cheating, physically cheating is when people engage in, it doesn't necessarily have to be just sexual, but it could be any type of physical act like kissing or caressing or touching in some type of way, which really should only be done within a relationship, right? Whether it's a marital relationship or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever the connection is, that's what it really should be. As far as physical cheating goes, that's what that looks like. But then there's emotional cheating. So emotional cheating is a bit different. I know a lot of people like to say that women tend to cheat emotionally more than they cheat physically. Wrong. Women cheat physically just as much as men cheat physically and emotionally. I would say it goes both ways. So emotional cheating is when you have feelings, romantic feelings, or you try to build intimacy with someone else, or not necessarily try to, but it just happens. There's a chemistry that exists, and one thing might lead to another, and you might be sexting, or it could be really innocent where you are just sharing like your inner thoughts and your secrets with someone, and it's really not something that you know you should be sharing. It's something that you know you should not be sharing with them, but you share it with them anyway because it's the closeness that you're feeling towards this individual. So that's emotional cheating. As far as spiritual cheating, I don't really know how to quite define this. I mean, I guess I would say if you are having Bible study sessions, or you're having these in-depth conversations about spirituality and your religious beliefs and things like that, and it's against what you and your partner have together, then that's considered spiritual cheating. That I haven't really seen when I've seen couples, for whether it's for marital counseling or premarital counseling, or just couples who are trying to sort out some issues they have in their relationship. I've never really heard of spiritual cheating. That's actually never come up in my experience. The spiritual cheating, I've actually heard of it from famous people that are pastors and preachers on television networks and things like that. But let's talk about what we know about most, the physical and emotional cheating. So what I want to do is go ahead and invite my guest to come on and join in. And obviously, I wanted this to be a fair conversation. So I wanted to have a male perspective on cheating. So let's start with this quote that I found. So 55% of divorced people in the U.S. reportedly, this is according to a national survey.
Hold on, time out. You're not going to introduce the guest?
I'm going to introduce you in a moment.
Brought me over here and just went straight to business.
He's so excited.
This is how she treats me on a regular basis.
Everybody, this is my husband, my handsome husband. Say hi to Roy. Say hi, babe.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, Mr. Willis. I want you to listen to this quote, and I want you to give me some feedback on there. So there's a national survey conducted in the U.S. where divorced people, 55% of them gave infidelity as the reason for getting a divorce. Now, before you say anything, it's not like it's 55% of the people gave this reason only. So you could select multiple reasons for why, you are getting a divorce from your partner. So on top of that, the higher percentages that were given, 73% of those divorced people reported reason for divorce is lack of commitment. So 73% said lack of commitment. In my opinion, and as a therapist and as a clinician, lack of commitment and infidelity, it seems like it can kind of go hand in hand, but I want you to give me a male's perspective on that. And then directly above that is the 56%, where people say that they just argue too much, maybe about infidelity or about lack of commitment. But what are your thoughts on that quote?
I mean, I would say if that's the reason that they gave, then I don't have a reason to disbelieve them. I mean, if they're the ones who are divorced, then I mean, I think that they can probably say better than anybody else. But I do think that, I mean, the older you get, you get a little bit more pragmatic about things. So I don't know that divorce or divorce has to come after cheating. I think that it's an easy thing to point to, but those people, if you gave them a second look or you had more ability to look into their relationship, it might not have been as big of a reason as they thought themselves. I mean, I think we demonize cheating, which, I mean, it's not a good thing, so it should be demonized, but I think that it's probably scapegoated a little more highly. I mean, there's a lot of other things that I think lead to divorce beyond even in relationships where cheating has taken place.
Okay, I appreciate your feedback on that quote. My number one question to you is, before we even get into the different reasons of why people cheat, male's perspective, woman's perspective, I want your opinion on, when you guys are talking about cheating, who would you say cheats more, women or men?
You have no way of knowing that. I mean, look, I mean, guys' conversation with other guys is full of like a lot of ego and
lies
and macho, like all that stuff. We're not being, especially not in a group setting. You're not going to be but so vulnerable. It's just going to be a bunch of guys kind of dragging, exaggerating situations and bragging and all of that stuff. So I think that it's hard to really answer that question. I mean, it's hard for anybody who's not in the situation to really answer that question, because I think that a lot of times the friends for any person, they're going to get kind of the one-sided story, and they're more likely to believe it because of the friendship that you all have. So you're probably not going to get the real truth. There might be one person that gets the real truth, and it might not even be a friend. It might be like your therapist or something.
That's the truth. So definitely from a woman's perspective, and I would say from a therapist standpoint, I've heard people say, well, depending on who I'm speaking to, of course, if I'm speaking to a male, the guy would say, oh, well, women cheat more, but they just don't get caught, right? That's what we typically hear. Women cheat more, they just don't get caught, or when they do cheat, they cheat emotionally. Weighing the different types of cheating, would you say it even matters whether whether a person cheats emotionally or physically? Do you feel like you could pardon one more than the other?
I mean, it's tough because it's not so much about pardoning. Like anybody can just say I forgive you, but I mean, what happens after that? Because you have a whole life to live after that, where you see the person every day, and then you got certain images in your head that you can't really get rid of. So I mean, you can pardon something on one day, and then like the next week you be like, you know what, I can't live with this. Like, you never know. So it's just like this constant ebb and flow after the fact, I believe.
And I think that's real, because the reality is that sometimes you don't really know what you're going to do until you're in the situation. And some people would say, well, if they're in a marriage, they definitely will try to make it work. But if it's, just a regular relationship, or if you're dating or courting, then why should I give this person a chance, right? And then there's also the thing, well, he didn't really do anything with her. They were just texting, or, they work together, so they spend a lot of time together. but they didn't really do anything. They can't do anything at work anyway. So it's not really a big deal if he emotionally cheats. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it all depends on the person. It depends on their past. I mean, there's a lot of people who put up with a lot of bad things because that's what they saw their parents do, or that's what they saw just in their environment. Or there's also people who will put up with stuff because the rest of the relationship is so fulfilling. So it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has something about their partner that they don't care for, and sometimes, it may be something that the next person can't deal with. But I mean, it's really up to those two people. Like it could be 3-4 people these days, but it's up to the people who are in the relationship, what goes in a relationship and what they can live with in the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so let's talk a little bit more about those reasons. You mentioned those reasons as the whole purpose for this whole video that we're doing right now. Let's talk about some of the reasons you think women cheat. From a male's perspective, what are the reasons you think women cheat?
I mean, I don't have a lot of, I guess, anecdotal experience with women cheating just because I haven't.
Oh, because you're so fantastic?
No, I'm not talking about me specifically, but I'm talking about I haven't had a lot of female friends that I've really had a conversation with about that, about why they cheated or whatever. I mean, usually I see it from the other side, but I mean, I think that from the who is being cheated on, it's just they're gonna view it as they didn't respect them enough, or they didn't think that they treated them well enough, and so they chose this avenue rather than just come in to work harder on the relationship, or try to communicate better, like what exactly was wrong.
So you're saying that the respect reason is for both men and women. So men and women feel like when they feel disrespected in a relationship, that they try to get that respect elsewhere as like one of the main reasons.
I mean, not necessarily respect. I'm saying if I look as a man, if someone cheats on me, then the reason is just because they didn't, whatever, there was something wrong. There had to have been something wrong in the relationship, and they didn't come to me to try to resolve it. They just went and, tried to just go off elsewhere. Now the thing is, that's not to say that that's the truth, but, when you are in that situation, you're being cheated on, it's kind of like you're going to put all the it's just as bad as it could possibly be. Yeah. Like, all you see is negative. You don't try to see it from any logical standpoint. It's just like, you have a lot of anger probably, and it's just like that person just, whatever they did, they're just the scum of the earth for doing it.
Well, I guess from a woman's perspective, the reasons why women cheat I've seen primarily is because the man is not pleasing them, whether sexually, intellectually, on some level. The man is not pleasing them. The man is not satisfying their sexual desires and their needs, so they get it from somewhere else. But the reason why they may not leave the relationship is because they're still getting something from that relationship. Maybe the guy that they're with is really supportive financially, or maybe the guy that they're with is a good father to their children, or whatever it is, because we're talking about cheating even in marriages, right? And women would cheat for those reasons because they don't necessarily want to leave the marriage, but they still kind of want to have their situation. So if they're not going to be satisfied at home, they're going to just get their sexual satisfaction outside of the home. Or if they're lacking in emotional or intimate relationship with their partner, then they try to get that from outside the home. Another reason why women cheat, I would say maybe hand in hand with the first reason I give, is because their boyfriend, their spouse, their squeeze, whomever it is, they found out that he cheated, and their cheating is get back, because ain't nothing better than get back, right? Ain't nothing better than get back. So would you agree with that? Or
I can't speak for women. I don't know. I don't know what women do.
All right. So then, what are the reasons why you think men, from your perspective, what do you think are the reasons why men cheat, specifically men?
I mean, it depends. It depends on the man, but in a situation where the relationship for the man is not fulfilling, that's when I guess you'd see kind of that emotional cheating, where the person is kind of apprehensive about really leaving the relationship. They may have kids. They may have, they don't want to blow up their lives because, especially if you're married. I mean, getting a divorce is something that is like traumatic to your life. I mean, it's a major thing. It's not like just breaking up with somebody, but I think the guys who need more fulfillment in their relationship are the ones who get caught in the whole emotional trap. I mean, the rest of the guys, I think, guys just like adventure. We're hunter gatherers at our core.
Hunters, y'all ain't hunting for nothing. He said hunting and gathering.
Look, I mean, it's conquering things is just what we like to do. So it's not even. It's just fun. So and it's unfortunate because I hear these women saying things like, "Oh, you got a filet mignon at home. Why are you settling for hamburger helper?" It doesn't matter.
Hamburger helper.
You can have filet mignon and hamburger helper. It's not an either or proposition. You know what I mean? Like, you just have both.
That's terrible.
It's just. I'm not trying to say that cheating isn't selfish, but it doesn't have anything to do a lot of times, from what I've seen from men, with something that their current partner is not giving them. It's just like, well, I can have what she's giving me and what she is giving me. She looks good and I want to experience that. But it's not necessarily a deeper thing than that, though. I mean, it's not indicative of you wanting to leave your relationship or anything. It's just like, I want to do this. I want to do this here, and then I'm gonna go right back, and we'll just forget that this other thing ever happened. It'll just go back into the depths of my memory, and I'll bring it out from time to time. But it's not like a long lasting relationship that's going to happen out of that. It's just. I'm on a business trip, and this is just a situation where I met this girl.
Oh, so
I met this girl at the bar.
Business trip.
Yeah.
Okay, you ain't going on no business trip.
It's just, yeah.
I'm just saying, y'all. He ain't going on no business trip.
On the random. I think that it's. I'm a statistician by education, but this is not. Don't go say that this was a well-defined, designed statistical study you heard about. This is just anecdotal. I feel like 10% of men in relationships are rocks, and it's probably applies to women too. You got on one end of the spectrum, you have these people who are just complete stalwarts. They are 100% for their relationship. They may not even like sex that much, but they're all about having a relationship, keeping their family together. Like, that's all they need in life. And then you got, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have this other 10% of people who, it doesn't matter if they're in a relationship or not, they're always 100% on the prowl. Like, they're just out there just looking to have a good time. And then everybody else, the other 80% is just somewhere in between. It's like, most of them are just trying to live their lives day to day. But hey, if a certain situation comes up, maybe, if the moon is lit just right, maybe, if she's getting on my nerves today, then maybe. But otherwise, we're just doing our thing, going to work, taking care of our kids, taking care of our spouse, our partner, whatever, and we're just living our normal life. And then I guess as you go inch further along on this spectrum, it's the level of aggressiveness you have towards pursuing other situations while you're in a relationship.
That's interesting, because my perspective on men cheating is not so much that they are hunters and gatherers. Similarly to what you said, I feel like it's not really a sense of the woman did something wrong, or the woman is they just don't want to be with this woman anymore. Because men, I feel like they make a decision, and once they've made a decision on the relationship that they no longer want to be in it, they deuce out for the most part. I don't see men lingering, like, let's try to, no. They will try to make it work in the situation until they're not, and then when they're not, that's it. is in a story. So as far as the reasons why men cheat, for me, in my opinion, a woman's perspective, I think it's because of greed. Pure greed. If the women are going to give it to them, and these women are not gonna come back and ruin what he has at home, then it's even better. Now I don't know if men are legit thinking. I've heard some guys say that they're thinking about the consequences of their actions. But for the most part, from your perspective, you being a male, you haven't been in situationships, would you say that you guys consider your relationship when you are thinking about cheating and when you're trying to develop reasons for cheating?
Yeah. But I think that a lot of times a person can justify it if they don't really intend to leave the relationship. It's just like, this is just a thing that's going to happen, and it's going to be a secret, and it's going to remain a secret, and I'm just going to go back to the relationship as if nothing happened. Like, this is not a plea. It's not a cry for help. I'm not trying to get attention. I'm just doing it because it just feels good to do today, and I'm just gonna go back and be in my relationship. But I don't think that. So you said that you think women cheat a lot out of revenge. I don't think guys do that as much. I think guys.
Yeah, I don't think guys do that as much.
I think guys are a little more decisive about what they want to do. Either they're going to leave the relationship, or they're going to attempt to forgive the situation and move on and stay in the situation.
I can agree with that.
And they may just take their time. And, you see a lot of couples, they'll break up, but then after they break up, they're like, we're better off together. They get back together, or even there's people who are divorced and they're like, oh, we're better friends than we were when we were together. We're just dating and all this stuff. I was like, well, then why'd you get divorced in the first place? And they'll be like, yeah, you wouldn't understand. But I think that men will kind of look at the situation a little more pragmatically and say, well, is there something we can get past? Then we'll try. We'll try. But I don't think a lot of guys are out here just trying to being vindictive and trying to do.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Being revenge type of relationships.
So I think we agree on that as far as men not necessarily being vindictive. I guess that makes sense, and I think that in summation, because I don't want to keep everybody too long.
Hold up. Before the summation, though, I disagree that men are more sloppy. I think that men are more prone to being presumed that they're doing something wrong. So if you see if you see two people and they're close, you're gonna presume that the man is kicking it to the girl. You're not gonna presume the other way around. You just feel you're gonna presume that the woman was just innocently minding her business.
Yes,
and this dude
that's what we do.
Yeah, but that's not what happens though. But that's just a presumption from the outside. So if somebody sees the situation, they're not going to question. They're not going to go, oh well. They're going to go back to you and be like, oh, I saw this. But they're not going to say the same about the girl. They're just going to presume that she was just minding her business. Some dude just rolled up on her. I've been out in my younger days. You'll have a girl at the club. She'll break it off on you all night at the club, dance with you all night, 2 hours, pick you up, throw you against the wall, just break you off, like all this all night. At the end of the night, you'll be like, yeah, can I get your number? And he's like, what? I'm married. It'll be like the audacity. I'm like, well, how was I supposed to know? We already basically just had a whole relationship just today. You gonna tell me you married now?
But the reality is that doesn't necessarily happen. And just like you said, the men are hunters and gatherers. So it's the men that have that innate nature to go, looking for a woman. It's not the woman that is coming and approaching the man. I'm not saying that women don't, because we do, and I have, in the past, or I at least try to be a wing woman to my friends to try to, get them hooked up or whatever. But the reality is that the majority of the time, women aren't the one that are pursuing guys. I could see some men, maybe you're that type of guy where you're not the kind of dude to go out there and pursue women like that. At least not in that, not in that sense. But the reality is that the majority of men are out here looking. They're out here looking, even though they have a ring on their finger, they're in a situation or whatever, they stay looking. It's like they stay ready.
It's easy for women to cheat though. Like
how was it easy?
They would get caught if they had to put up in the work that men have to do to cheat. Women, if a woman was to cheat, she can get like 100 dudes on one block who will be like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like if you're a man, you want to cheat. First of all, you have to convince the girl to go ahead with the fact that you're in a relationship.
Well, you guys lie and say that you aren't.
Her that,
exactly.
Then you gotta, we have to lie because it's even harder that way. then you gotta convince the girl. The girl is like, well, I don't know. You gotta try to take him out at least once, to get drinks or something. And it's like, it's just like so much you have to do. There's so many more opportunities to get caught because you have to get them to the point. Like a man is always ready. If a woman rolls up on him, you might not have had a conversation with the dude. You'd be like, hey, would you come home with me right now? He might be like, check his schedule real fast and be like, all right, I'm free tonight.
it cannot be that easy. I've never tried it. That's not my thing.
They'll keep their mouth shut. They're like, the whole thing. It's like tailor made for women to get away with cheating.
So tailor made. So that's the reason why you would say women would get away with cheating?
Well, yeah.
Because we fixed the game.
It's just generally easier for women to get away with
anything.
Anything like that, because men are always ready. Men have to like warm women up and stuff, and first of all they have to convince them that they're safe, that they're not like some sort of predator. It's like all this stuff you have to do to get women to a point where they even if you were single.
Wow. Honestly speaking, I could agree with that, because you don't know who's the killer, man. Like as a woman, and for me being petite, I don't know who about to kill me. I don't know who about to throw me in the back of somebody's van and take me off to some faraway land and rape me or have their way with me or whatever. Let's meet in a public place. Let's go to a park in broad daylight where there's mad people, because I don't want to get lost in the sauce. I be setting my location. Before we obviously got married, I be setting my location to my friends like, listen, if you don't have back from me in like 2 hours, like send the police. This is my last location. Like, cause you're right. We're not that trusting, and we're not gonna jump into situations. But that's because you men tend to be predators.
Men tend to be.
You're the one that said that men are hunters and gatherers.
Yeah, hunters and gatherers. That's different from being a predator.
Listen, hunting. Hunting means that you're out here trying to get some prey.
I'm talking about the means.
You know who eats prey? Predators. You know who gets prey? Predators.
I was making a comparison.
Yeah,
to
right. Don't come sweeten the deal now. Before we get too far down that rabbit hole, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in, paying attention. We're going to have some more, when I say I mean LP Counseling and Therapy Services. I thank my husband, Roy Willis, for joining me today on our counseling conversation on why men and women cheat. But I appreciate you, honey, for coming and being a good sport and offering your male perspective, because we definitely need that. And again, thank you guys for joining, and see you at the next counseling conversation. Bye.